Hello everybody, this is Derek with Reef Automation. I decided I was going to do a top 10 automation gear for beginners and advanced users out there, just to get a general idea of what I believe are the top 10 items that you need in your reef tank to have automation and not have to do as much. So let's get started with number 10. So number 10 is the Inkbird heater controller. Now, this can also, of course, be used for a chiller or any type of temperature control. Now, I think this is a must-have for anybody out there with a reef tank. What this basically allows you to do is control the heater or your chiller without the need of any type of control system. So I also recommend that people plug this actually into a control system to turn off as a fail-safe as well. But I believe that this is number 10 on some of the most needed devices for automation. So number 9 would be a Skimmer neck cleaner. Now this one I'm showing here is the Reef Octopus, and it will fit with just about any skimmer. You can get any lid size you want, and it will fit with just about any skimmer. They're a little pricey. They run about $150 or so, but I highly recommend them so you can keep your skimmer nice and clean. With this, I also recommend some form of a skimmate locker or a skimmate container, and Reef Octopus also makes one of those as well. Those two in conjunction basically makes it so you don't ever have to touch your skimmer. And what's nice about the Reef Octopus is they have sensors on them, so they will automatically shut off your skimmer when it gets overfilling or gets too high in the cup. You can also put a sensor inside there, and you can put a sensor also in the container. So this is something I would highly recommend for people that don't want to clean their skimmer as often and want to automate their skimmer cleaning. So number 8 would be an auto feeding system. This one I'm showing you here is from Neptune, their AFS. Now the AFS is a very good piece of equipment. I find it to be extremely loud, so just so you know, when this thing goes on, you will definitely hear it. But any automatic feeding system that's out there, Eheim makes one. I believe there is another company out there that makes one, but if you have a Neptune, this would be the one I'd recommend. Again, it's a little loud, but again, you're talking about feeding your fish without having to feed your fish. So for the top 10 automation gear, I think this one sits great at number 8. Number 7 would be a roller mat. I found the roller mat to be one of my best upgrades that I ever made on my fish tank. Now, what this does, for those that don't know, is it basically will replace your filter socks. And what happens is the little roller inside will roll as the water gets higher in both of these units. This is the Thieling and this is the Clearacy. Any roller mat out there would be better than using your filter socks. And generally they will last for a month, 2 months, 3 months. My Clearacies usually last between a month and 2 months before I have to replace the rollers. And again, the water fills up inside, which dirties up the roller. And then as it raises inside, there's a little sensor that takes the roller mat and basically moves it, automating cleaning. Again, number 7 for automation, I would definitely say is a roller mat. Number 6, a doser. Now, the one I'm showing you here is the dose from Neptune, but any doser out there is going to automate your alkalinity and calcium consumption. Some people do, of course, water changes to replenish, but you can get cheap dosers from Amazon. There's also one made by Ecotech Marine. They make the Versa pump. There's also the dose, as you can see right here. And Jabo makes one, and Bulk Reef Supply makes a doser. But pretty much any doser out there would automate your consumption, and that can be your alkalinity, magnesium, calcium. It also can automate amino acids. It also can automate phyto, which is what I do. Basically, a doser, I would believe, is number 6 on the list of must-haves for automation. Number 5 is going to be your SmartThings Hub. Now, I find the SmartThings Hub or any actual Zigbee hub out there to be a godsend for automation. As you can see, there's a number of companies that work with the SmartThings. You can basically put an outlet on anything, and therefore you can basically turn it on and off with a timer. You can turn it off with a sensor. There's many things you can do with the SmartThings Hub. And I have a video on the SmartThings Hub, and I also have a live stream that we talked about on the SmartThings Hub. I find this to be very nice to have on a fish tank. This would probably end up replacing a Neptune, but what's so great about this is that everything is wireless. So you could have a switch somewhere across the house that you need to automate for a fish tank without having to run a USB, without having to run any type of power brick. I find this to be a terrific item for automating different things in the aquarium, such as lights, such as pumps, such as just about anything you can automate with this, with sensors, water sensors, with outlets, with switches in the wall. You can actually put a switch in the wall that will turn off and on lights in the fish tank. There's so many things you could do with this. So I'm going to give this number 5. Number 4 would be a automatic water change and an auto top off. Any type of auto top off I would recommend as definitely something you need to have automated on your system. Now what's nice about the Auto Aqua is it also does auto water changes as well as auto top off. This system I believe is about $250. It's a very good system for the price. I would recommend any auto top-off system by any manufacturer over no auto top-off system. I believe Tunzi makes one of the best as their osmolator I've been using for many years. But if you want to kind of get a whole in the package unit, I would recommend the Auto Aqua. Now the Auto Aqua, I did a video on the top 5 auto water change systems, and this would definitely be one, as it is cheap. It uses optical sensors, and you can run using pretty much any pumps with these, and I find it to be a very good system, and that's number 4. Number 3 for automation would be the Alkatronic. Now the Alkatronic is a very expensive item. It's about $1,000, but what is so great and why I feel this is number 3 on the list is it monitors alkalinity, which is the most important parameter on your reef tank. If your reef tank isn't stable with its alkalinity, you will have issues. You will have corals dying quicker, and you will have all sorts of problems with your reef tank if your alkalinity goes up and down all the time. Stability is key in a reef tank, and one of the biggest and most important stability parameters is alkalinity. Now you can also buy a dosetronic with the Alkatronic, which will also dose your different elements. The Alkatronic has its own dosing pump inside to dose alkalinity to keep your alkalinity stable. So I find this to be a wonderful alternative to some of the other testers out there, and I find this to be number 3, as I think alkalinity testing and automation is probably the most important piece of equipment on a reef tank. Number 2 would be a tank controller. And of course, I'm going to recommend the Apex, as most of you know, that's what I program. But there are other controllers out there. There are GHL. There's also a new one called Control 4 by Coral View, I believe. And Ecotech is looking at doing a controller as well. But any controller on a system, of course, is going to be your best bet for automation. Apex being the king of all controllers. You can do just about anything you want with an Apex. You can turn off and on items. You can measure salinity, temperature, ORP, pH, just about everything. And of course, you can dose with their dose. You can auto feed with their auto feeder. They have an ATK auto top off kit. So basically, having a controller is definitely on top of the list or near close to the list as number 2. And number 1, and probably the most important automation piece of equipment, is going to be the Neptune Trident. Now, The Alkatronic, while it is a wonderful piece of equipment, and they are going to be coming out with other solutions for testing other parameters, the Trident will test your calcium, magnesium, and your alkalinity, and of course, it's inside your Neptune system. So you can do a number of different programming things in order to dose properly based on your Trident results. You can dose a calcium reactor, you can dose alkalinity, magnesium, and calcium separately. You can have alarms if your alkalinity goes up. You can do a number of different things with the Trident and an Apex together. Again, the Trident will need an Apex in order to work, whereas the Alkatronic is a self-contained system. I will also mention that the Alkatronic can be hooked up to an Apex using a BNC connector into a pH probe input, and that can be via a PM1 or the Apex itself, and it will give you your alkalinity, and you can dose based on that number that it's giving. You can also get a number of Trident controlled dosing solutions with the Trident where you can't do that with the Alkatronic, meaning it's going to dose based on the Trident results and do a percentage to keep it nice and stable. I believe that this piece of equipment is the best automation equipment to ever come out in the reef aquarium hobby. I find this unit to be very easy to use, very little problems. I have had a Trident since the beginning, and for those that have been watching my channel, know that I'm going to be giving away one of these as long as we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I will be giving away a Trident system that I have in my possession. So that's my top 10. I have shown you all the things that I think are the most important automation pieces of equipment. If you have any comments or questions about anything that I showed you today, please write them in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and definitely hit the bell so you are notified as I make new videos. I have a number of tutorial videos, and also I do live streams every week where I give away things such as the Trident, as I mentioned. Also, if you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up, and I hope my top 10 gave you some ideas for the future. And if you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.